Hi, I'm Lynn here with you today in May of 2024 to show you the first features of the Carbon Farm Network application, which is still very much in progress. We are, however, pretty excited about the initial planning feature and hope this quick look is helpful to you. It'll be a little informal and have also a few teasers of what we might want to do next. So, quick background, the Carbon Farm Network is a group of independent textile designers in the New York Hudson Valley here, although this is all test data, um, who want to source their fibers from farms that are implementing carbon beneficial practices on their land. These designers are organized as a purchasing cooperative, and they coordinate their supply chain network together to produce yarn for their individual final products. The larger network also includes the farmers, the fiber scourers, the spinners, the knitters, and the shippers, whole supply chain. In terms of technology, this is being implemented using Holochain and an existing software layer called HREA, which implements the Value Flow Standard Economic Vocabulary. All of that is very generic, provides a great base, but very generic. So this application is the user interface that's needed for the Carbon Farm Network specifically, also with conscious efforts towards it being usable by other networks with the same rough supply chain coordination processes. So let's take a look. This first page that's up here is a map of the network. For any organization, you can pop in and see their contact information, the user-defined fields here like Carbon Beneficial Certified, what they're offering to the network, which in this case is 3 types of alpaca fiber. The app, as I mentioned, is highly configurable, so let's look at that first. All that work has been done, so we'll just take a peek. This page shows all the resource specifications, which are all the material items that are used in the network, the services, the currencies, any type of resource that will flow through your network. Should be defined here first. This is all user definable. So here you can see there's 3 types of yarn, there's some services, there's some fiber in various stages of the process. Here's some clean fiber, here's some dirty fiber, gas and truck rental, US dollar. So that's all set up ahead of time by the network. Here I'm going to look at agents. Agents are people or organizations. Here's our little set of the agents involved in this network. Just pop into one. So here's the Laughing Alpaca Farm. You can see their role, their location, the information, display information that we saw when we popped them up on the map, and their carbon beneficial certification, which is a special field that is set up by this user group. So any user group can set up their own sets of searchable, filterable kinds of information. So that's the agents. One more thing to show you here. Process specifications. These are kind of the stages of the supply chain. These are used in recipes, which we'll get to in a minute, and in well, let me show. I'll show you that in a minute. So that's the setup that we have. There are the other miscellaneous configurations that we haven't completed yet, like the location on the map, the icons that are used in the map and the plan. But basically, when the configuration setup pieces are all complete, any type of textile supply chain network or any type of any supply chain network should be able to use the same application for their supply chain coordination. So that's the setup. Let's get on to the planning, or in this case, maybe a little pre-planning. You'll see offers and requests here. I'll pop into the offers page. These are offers from organizations in the network for what they are offering into the network. So you've got the services here from these service providers, the mills. You've got the farm level fiber, and that's the beginning of the supply chain network. And this is what we have: available quantities here. We have prices per, usually pound in this case, and whether it's still available or not. So those are the offers. We also have the requests, which are a little simpler. So these are requests from the designers on the output side of the whole supply chain. Here we have just a couple sample designers plus the Carbon Farm Network itself. And this is what they would like by the end of the season. So it's these 3 types of yarn, basically. Okay, with that said, let's go make a plan. Don't have one yet. We have offers, we have requests. Let's see how we take those offers and create what's been requested. I'm going to hit add a plan. The first thing you'll see when you come up is the offers and the requests. And we're going to fill in this middle space with how to get to yarn from dirty fiber on the farm. I'm going to hit create from requests, and you'll see a bunch of stuff happen here. This little bit of magic is due to the recipe. The recipe is part of the setup and configuration piece, which is not partially done, but not totally done yet. We don't have the user interface to show you, but the recipes are the key to easy planning. You can do this plan without a recipe too. You just enter each one of these pieces of information directly, and that would work. But let me take you on a little bit of a tour here. Actually, I'll take you on a backwards tour. Here's the requests that you are aware of. This first column, called Satisfy Requests, is what the network is promising to the requesters. So initially, we're starting off with this matching the requests. Maybe or maybe not, that can happen, but that's the hope. At this stage, you can make changes to the Satisfy Requests column that will ripple through the plan. For example, let's look at this shipping at the end. The top item here that's dropped off at the knitting factory in this case is 43 pounds of ivory yarn. Here's the request. Ivory yarn, 10 pounds. That's for Carbon Farm Network, so they can make samples. And there's here's the other ivory yarn request for the New York Textile Lab of 33 pounds. So 33 and 10 makes this 43 pounds that is being dropped off. And you can see that travels backwards. This is shipping, so you got 43 pounds picked up and 43 pounds dropped off. Before that is a production process, the spinning process, and you can see 3 separate processes. Actually, they're kind of, you just see a little break in the information. And you can see, for example, that it takes 24 pounds of clean white alpaca and 24 pounds of clean white wool to spin 43 pounds of ivory yarn. The reason that doesn't add up is because spinning generally has about a 10% loss in weight from the process itself. And the recipe knows that. It keeps all those ratios and can figure out these numbers from for this plan, for any plan. The recipe doesn't know 24 and 43. The recipe knows something like 1 and 0.9, right? It knows the ratios, but multiplies it out. You can see here there's another output besides the yarn itself, which is a spinning service. So Spin It Up is providing this service to the Carbon Farm Network. And for 43 pounds, in this industry, they measure everything in pounds. So the spinning is charged by the pound. If it weren't, then there would be a formula in the recipe for this. So this is a service providing 43 pounds of spinning service. You can also see a cost here. What we're looking at here basically is a set of production recipes. So it's, every stage that happens in this supply chain to make yarn. There are also exchange recipes that have been created, and that's where this cost comes from. So there's a recipe that says that there's going to be an exchange of spinning service for some US dollars. And there's also an offer over here on this end from the spinning service Spin It Up, and they charge $7 per pound to spin. Going back here, that's how it calculated this cost. It knew it needed to calculate it because of the exchange recipe. It calculated it from the offer. If it can't get the quantity from the offer, or it can't find an offer with that service, then it will go ahead and create one with blanks, and the recipe can give it a way to calculate an initial price. Okay, so that's that. You can kind of, the columns are in order left to right, perhaps obviously chronologically, right? So they're picking up their fiber first, shipping it, scouring it, shipping it, spinning it, etc. But you can't, oh, I know what I haven't showed you yet. This is important and fun. The only thing these little widgets here, edit and delete, are only showing up right now on the satisfy requests column. And that's the only thing you can change until you save the plan. So let's just have a little fun with this recipe. Show you the power of the value flows here. So suppose here's like 10 pounds of ivory yarn that the Carbon Farm Network requested so they can make some samples. Let's say, oh, we really think we're missing one there. We really think we need 20 pounds. I'm going to change that and save it. What just happened is that it changed everything through this whole resource flow that was affected by this, because the whole thing is calculated backwards. It's called a demand-driven calculation. So now, I should have showed you before what it was. We'll do it again. You can see now there's 20 pounds here and 33 pounds here. So that's the 53 pounds. Suppose I edit, let's see, or suppose I'll add one this time. Suppose Nope, that's right. Carbon Farm Network is going to provide to the River Valley Fashions some more ivory yarn. They're going to be transferred, and maybe they want 33 pounds. And I can't forget my unit here. I just added that request. It showed up here at the bottom. And you can see that where it said 53 before, now it says 86. So that's the starting point. It gathers together all these individual requests and says, this is how you're going to make it. You can see that since you're dropping off 86 pounds, you need to pick up 86 pounds. You also need to produce 86 pounds. 48 and 48, that's at 10%. Okay. So we're going to want to save this plan so that we can mess with it some more. Up until this point, we've only been able to change that satisfy requests column, which does ripple through the entire plan. But I'm going to hit save plan. That takes a minute. And we'll call that the 2024 season. And hit save. Okay, the screen is back from saving the plan. And most of this is probably in pretty good shape from the demand-driven calculate from the backwards algorithm. But in any case, you can see that now there's been some widgets added to each of these commitments in the plan. So people can edit or delete any commitment, and people can move them around just for their convenience. But looking at the beginning of the plan, we don't have, and a little bit more about that in a minute, but you can see that the first process, picking up this fiber from the farmers, doesn't match the offers. And that's because, and at some point it won't match, right? There's demand driven and supply driven, and they have to meet in the middle somewhere and get reconciled. And in this case, that's right here. For example, we have white alpaca dirty here. 52 pounds need to be picked up. Well, there's two suppliers that supply white alpaca dirty in our test data here. And so it doesn't know how to pick one. But we can fix that. So let's edit this white alpaca dirty pickup commitment. And let's say we're going to pick it up from the Laughing Alpaca Farm. And I want to show you one thing. So I'm not doing all of it right this second. And we'll save it. Okay, now you can see it knows where it's coming from. Oh, my little notification isn't working. This should, and usually it does, this should notify you that this white alpaca dirty from Laughing Alpaca has 44 available and now has 52 requested. And that would go right here. Just pretend it does, and it's red. So I can see then, and we'll build in a whole bunch more notifications for issues in the plan to try to improve the user experience and so they can see things happen more easily. But in any case, I'm going to go back in and edit that and split it up since we can't get all of our white alpaca from the one farm. So I'm going to say, well, let's say we'll take all of their 44, or let's make it easy. Let's say we'll take 40 from the Laughing Alpaca Farm. And there's a little check mark right here that says save cost. This is going to create that whole exchange that happens associated with the production plan. So when they pick up this farm, they're going to hand this white alpaca, they're going to hand the farmer a check. And this is going to put that into the plan and save the cost. So now you can see it's 40 pounds and it's going to cost $240 based on this request. And now you can see the 40 requested over there. But where are we going to get our other 12 pounds? Let's add a new pickup from the other test farm we have. So Grinning Sheep Farm is going to provide to Carbon Farm Network some more white alpaca dirty. It's a pickup. We need another 12 to make it work. We'll save the cost. Okay, so it added that down here to the bottom. But we don't like it at the bottom. We like that gas and truck rental at the bottom. So these little arrows just let you move things around. I'm going to move that up. In fact, I think I'll move it up all the way to be by the other white alpaca. There we go. So that shows you how to add and edit. You can also delete, but we're not going to do that this minute. So that's the idea, and you can do that anywhere. Oftentimes, people need to tweak their plan, even that was generated from a recipe, and it kind of depends. Sometimes plans need a lot of tweaking, sometimes not much. So that's that. I want to mention a future feature here, and you saw how the demand-driven algorithm works, starting at the final independent demand, it's called, and working its way back through the plan. We want to add some supply-driven automated algorithmic planning too, just to make things simpler. Like, for example, the Carbon Farm Network sometimes wants to pick up all the fiber available to them and just keep some in inventory, and maybe they'll even send it through scouring and keep the clean fiber in inventory till next year, kind of a thing, or for further demand during the season or whatever. Anyway, there's reasons. So we would like to add some kind of supply-driven algorithm to this user experience here, and maybe it would just go column by column, so they could do it one column at a time or something. Anyway, to be determined, but it's also an example of where we're going to learn a lot more once the Carbon Farm Network is using this software, which will be very soon. And we're really looking forward to understanding what further features should be added to this user experience. So somewhat chaotic planning processes will be smoothed out as much as possible. Let's see. I want to also show you a feature that we've just kind of put the starting points in here so that you can see them. It's not a finished feature by any means, but one thing we think about this user interface here is that you want to kind of seamlessly move from your pre-season planning into your season, into your production, and you want to be able to track what actually happens all along the way, and you want to be able to replan as needed, and that's where some of that supply forward stuff will come in. But let me just show you this. Let's see, we can pop into this. Let's say they just picked up this, or let's say this is not a very real example, but let's say they are going to pick up part of this white alpaca. So now it says I'm recording an economic event here. That's the little calendar icon that I hit. I'm not recording, I'm not working with the commitment anymore. I'm recording the real actual activity. So, and it's kind of defaulted this, but I'm going to say, we only were able to get 30 this trip, and I'm going to add that event. So now that changed it to 30, what you can see, and we might want to show both the commitment event and the commitment quantity and the event quantity, I don't know. But it changed it to yellow, and that's so that, and actually, I'm going to do this one. Oops, I can't do that one I'll go back in and I'll pick up some brown alpaca. So let's say I'm going to, well, first let me figure out who I'm going to pick it up from. Probably from Laughing Alpaca. So let me, and save the cost, get that updated. And then I'm going to go out to the farm. And pick up all 44 pounds. Now I have a little checkbox down here that says commitment finished. I'm going to check that so that the computer system knows that that we have done all we're going to do here with this particular commitment. So that changed that to green. If I went into the white, that's so you can start to see how you'll be able to visually get a snapshot view of the status of your season in this case, but of your plan as things progress. So that's, I think that's all we need to look at for that. This is, so there's hints in here beyond kind of the production plan and the production, oh, I know, let me just, one more thing, because I don't think I kind of finished off that thought, is that the supply forward algorithm concept, it also fits in here, but instead of the commitments, it would be based on the actual economic events. So if you want to be, like if you go and pick, and this is what they do, they drive around to all these farms and pick up all this fiber, and it's never what's planned because the farmers haven't really waited until they get there and things like that. So they pick up everything, and then you'll see all of this change to green. But then nothing is going to work the same anymore, or they're going to have to find places to get more fiber. But they should be able to, if they could do some planning forward here, they could take the events instead of the commitments and run that supply-driven algorithm to ripple that through the end, and maybe just on a test basis to see, well, what happens if this, kind of thing. But hopefully you get the idea. There are just a lot of possibilities here that need to be explored in the context of the users actually using this software, which is going to happen very soon. So just two more things, maybe to note. This is the start to getting your accounting data in, because you know what you've done related to the production plan. So this will give you when you create an event, it also will create an inventory record. If you create an event that that already has inventory for that resource specification, it'll just update your inventory record. The events manage your inventory for you. So we'll have that, we'll eventually have an inventory feature where you can see what you got. Also, there are kind of financial events that are going to happen here. Like when we calculated this cost, that created the commitment to pay the farmer. When you pay the farmer, that'll create an event. There's also other financial events that are just totally non-production related. There are fees, there are donations, there are eventually the designers are going to pay for their yarn, and they sort of do that throughout the season so that there's money to pay for these services. Anyway, there's a whole financial tracking piece that involved. So that'll be budgeting and then tracking, all through the season. And there will be accounting reports. You should be able to get your standard accounting reports from this data, because really all of all of the data that you would normally put into an accounting system will be there as a result of the kind of just coordinating your season. So I think that's it. There's also a bunch of small improvements that are needed, and a bunch of testing and further design and user experience stuff. And we are hoping to get on with that soon. And that's what we wanted to show you today. Thank you very much for sticking with us.